Welcome to Confession of a Lawyer with Penny Liu. My name is Penny Liu. I've been a lawyer for over a decade in Wellington now, and my areas of practice are immigration, commercial, trusts, and property. So Confession of a Lawyer is a new thing that I'm trying to do at the moment, which is basically equipping the public with a bit of information from a lawyer's perspective. That's for free, essentially. So confession is not real confession, but from a lawyer's perspective, how the law works, how it applies to your situation, and hopefully that will equip you with a bit more information out there to deal with your legal affairs, or at least give you a bit of basis to start with. So understanding basic laws will help you with either your property purchase, your business purchase, or any other things like setting up a trust, or getting into a relationship property agreement. All of those things will really help you with some basic understanding. For further advice, you can come back to me, or you can go back to your own lawyer. So that's all good. Welcome to a Confession of a Lawyer. This episode I'd like to talk to you about property purchases. So at the moment everyone's buying something at the moment. Everyone's buying an apartment or existing property, or buying a section to build on it. Everyone's going crazy over this, but let's have some basic look at different legal aspects of purchasing a property. So from a lawyer's perspective, we always wanted to put 4 conditions into the agreement to protect you. So first is finance. Obviously you need to have the money for it. Either you're drawing it out from the KiwiSaver or getting it from a Homestart grant. We need to make sure we have the money. Secondly, we need to make sure that you understand the building is not leaky, the structure is sound through a builder's report. So builder's report conditions are always a must. Thirdly, you've got LIM report. So LIM report stands for Land Information Memorandum. So pretty simple, it's the information about the land, including the property that's on the land, that the council will have. So the council will have all sorts of information. And the LIM report ranges from, 50 pages to, I think, 270 pages that I've been looking at last few days. So they're very long and winded things, but they give you everything the council holds about a property. For example, your neighbouring property may be, applying for resource consent to build a kindergarten. And you may not want to live next door to kindergarten, but if you're just focusing on your property and looking at LIM reports, you won't know about this, and that may affect your use and enjoyment in the future. So LIM report is very, very important. And lastly, title. I got a lot of clients who ask me, why do you need to look at titles? Titles are notoriously difficult things to look at, even from a lawyer's perspective, and that's a confession to make. The reason why is it's very complicated, it has a lot of interests registered on it. Those interests will actually affect your use and enjoyment. For example, there's a thing called land covenant that are full of restrictions, and those are the things that you can't do with the land. For example, a developer, when they carve out a piece of land into 100 pieces, they wanted the development look a certain way, so they may not be happy with certain materials of the roof. They only want the roof to be coloured steel. So that sort of thing they write into a land covenant restricting you using certain other materials. So those things you need to know. The other things like developers would like to see, they won't want to see you hanging your clothesline close to the street front, because all your personal belongings will be hanging out to the street to see, and that will affect the outlook of the entire development. So that sort of thing we just need to check. The other thing we check is just make sure no other third parties have the right to come onto your property, like your neighbour may have a right of way over your property to get out onto the street. That sort of thing, you need to understand where your rights and obligations are to provide, uninterrupted access for your neighbour to get out onto the legal road. So these are the 4 conditions that we always try to put at. However, with regards to these days, everyone putting in tenders and deadlines, you really don't have the time. So you need to get your lawyer or myself to look at everything before you put an unconditional offer or a conditional offer with only one or two of the conditions. So nowadays you'll get from the agents a Dropbox of information that will have the LIM, that will have the builder's report, that will have the title. As soon as you get it, contact your lawyer and get them to check them for you. And like those 4 things that I've just talked about, you need to ask your lawyer, are there any things restricting my use and enjoyment of the property? Are there any things that I should look out for, just to make sure that you're on the right track going forward? The other thing I think you will see quite often these days, you'll get a form called Section 51A form under the OIO. So this is a form issued by the Overseas Investment Office. So this is the famous foreign ban. So if you are not a New Zealand citizen or New Zealand resident, you are not allowed to purchase a residential property these days. If you're a New Zealand citizen, Singaporean citizen, Australian citizen, you'll be fine. Unfortunately, if you are only a New Zealand resident, you've got to be very, very careful, because you have to declare that when you are a New Zealand resident, before you purchase the property, you would have lived in New Zealand for 12 months. And 183 days of that 12 months, you actually did not leave the country. Let me say that again. So you've lived in New Zealand for 12 months, just before you buy or set to buy a property. And 183 days of that 12 months, you actually haven't left the country or flew out for holidays. After 183 days, you're free to go. But you're ready to sign that piece of paper. That's a declaration. Now, you need to give information truthfully. And a lot of people ask me, what do I know about myself? And you need to understand what sort of visa or class of visa that you're holding. Talk to your lawyer about that. And whether the lawyer will ask you how long you've been living in the country. Just a few simple questions will help you figure out. And if you are a spouse of a New Zealand citizen, you're usually exempt. Even if you're American citizen, you're okay. You're able to buy a house with your husband, with your spouse. So that's, or wife, or your spouse, whatever. You'll be absolutely fine. However, there are also other exceptions as well. So talk to your lawyer about that, or talk to me, or any questions you want to ask. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn and Facebook, and also Instagram. So if you've got any questions, you can leave a comment for me as well. That's it for today. Thank you very much. Please follow me.